Don't leave me here, please. Her voice cracked against the dark. Sheriff Mallory didn't pause. He slammed the cell door shut, iron clanging like a verdict. His boots dragged whiskey and dust across the boards as he left her bleeding on the floor. The jail smelled of rust and sweat. A lantern hissed, shadows trembling on warped walls. Anna Wilkes lay curled against the planks, one hand clamped to her ribs, blood seeping through her fingers. The sheriff's belt had done its work. He hadn't cared whether she lived or not. Outside, Bitter Creek carried on, wind clawing through the crooked street, saloon piano stumbling over a tune, laughter spilling from men who'd never lift a hand for her. Inside, silence swallowed her whole. The door creaked again. She tried to lift her head, eyes blurring. It wasn't Mallory. The man who stepped in moved with the weight of the trail, dust on his coat, shadow under his hat. Spurs whispered instead of rang. His gaze swept the room once, steady, unreadable. Cole Archer, a bounty hunter by trade, a ghost of a man by reputation. Folks whispered he'd buried his heart years ago in Texas, along with a woman he'd once loved. He never stayed anywhere long enough to be remembered. He stopped when he saw her. Anna's lips cracked. "Help me." Cole knelt, slid his coat beneath her shoulders, and lifted her. No questions, no judgment. Her blood soaked into his shirt as he carried her out, the lantern light flickering behind them. The wind hit hard outside, scattering grit across the empty street. A dog barked once, then silence again. Cole walked slow but certain, every step a quiet defiance against the sheriff's name carved into this town. For the first time in weeks, Anna felt warmth against the cold. For the first time in years, Cole carried the weight of another life in his arms. And that was how it began. Firelight the cabin was little more than logs and stone, tucked against the ridge where the wind died down. Cole shouldered the door open, the hinges groaning, and carried her inside. He laid Anna on the cot, thin mattress, wool blanket, nothing soft about it, but better than a jailhouse floor. She stirred, face pale in the flicker of dying embers. Cole fetched water from a basin, tore a strip from his own shirt, and pressed it to her ribs. His hands were rough but steady, years of patching wounds in places where no doctor would ride. Anna winced, breath sharp. "Why help me?" Cole didn't look at her. He tied the bandage tight, then sat back. "Didn't feel right leaving you." Silence filled the cabin, broken only by the snap of wood in the hearth. She studied him through heavy lids, the stubble on his jaw, the dust ground into his coat, the stillness in his eyes. Not kindness, not pity. Something harder. Her strength faltered. Sleep pulled her down, slow and heavy. Cole stayed in the chair, boots planted, rifle across his knees. He watched the fire burn low, shadows crawling along the walls. He should have left her. Would have once. But when she whispered please, something in him had answered, a voice he thought had died years back. Outside, the wind clawed at the hills. Inside, the firelight held. And for the first time in a long while, Cole Archer wasn't entirely alone. Bread and silence gray light crept through the shutters when Anna woke. Her ribs ached, but she wasn't on the jail floor. She was warm, covered by an old quilt that smelled of smoke and pine. Across the room, Cole sat by the fire, tin cup in hand. He didn't move until her eyes opened. "You're alive," he said simply. She tried to sit, pain lancing her side. He crossed the room, slid an arm behind her shoulders, and eased her upright without a word. He set the cup in her hands. Coffee, bitter and black, but hot. "Why?" she whispered. Cole didn't meet her gaze. Didn't feel right. He broke bread, set it beside her. No ceremony, just bread. Her fingers brushed his by accident when she took it. She froze, cheeks warming despite the cold. They ate in silence. The fire popped. Wind whispered at the walls. It wasn't comfort, not yet, but it was something, and sometimes something was enough. Hoofbeats by midday. Cole heard them, faint, carried on the wind. Hooves. Too many to be travelers, too heavy to be hunters. He stepped out onto the porch, rifle resting in his hands, eyes narrowing across the pale horizon. The sound faded, but the warning stayed. Inside, Anna's stitches pulled as she shifted on the cot. She saw his jaw tighten when he came back in. "Who is it?" she asked. "Mallory's men," he muttered. "They'll come." The words settled over her heavier than the quilt. She'd known the sheriff wouldn't forget, but hearing it in Cole's voice turned fear sharp in her chest. She swallowed. "Then what happens?" Cole tossed a log into the fire. Sparks leapt, shadows stretched. He didn't look at her when he answered. "They touch you, they die." For a moment, silence filled the cabin, broken only by the crackle of flame. Anna pulled the quilt tighter. Her ribs ached, but a different warmth stirred there too. Not safety, not yet, but the sense that someone had finally chosen to stand. Outside, the wind carried hoofbeats farther down the valley. But it wasn't gone, only waiting. The knock at dusk, the knock came hard. 3 raps that shook the frame. Cole was already standing, rifle leveled. Anna's breath caught under the quilt, her heart hammering in the hush. "Archer," a voice boomed, slick with whiskey and pride. "Mallory, you got something belongs to me." Anna flinched. Cole's face didn't change. He stepped to the door, spoke low through the wood. "She ain't yours." Mallory's laugh curled cold through the cracks. "Don't play hero. She's a thief and worse. Leave her, and I'll let you ride on." Cole's finger tightened on the trigger. His voice dropped, iron flat. "Not tonight." Gunfire shattered the silence. Glass burst from the window, bullets thudding into the log walls. Anna ducked low, clutching her ribs. Cole fired back, one shot, then another, each echo splitting the dusk. Outside, a horse screamed, hooves scrambling. A body hit dirt. The rest cursed, fired wild into the cabin, then wheeled their mounts away. For a long moment, only smoke and Anna's ragged breathing filled the air. Cole lowered the rifle, shoulders heavy. She looked up at him, eyes wide, voice trembling. "Why risk this for me?" He met her gaze, the firelight catching in his eyes. "Because no one else ever did." After the smoke, the cabin reeked of powder and splintered wood. Cold seeped through the holes left by bullets, but the fire still held. Cole set the rifle down, flexing his hand where the recoil had bitten skin raw. He said nothing, only sat heavy on the stool, breath slow. Anna crawled from the corner, quilt dragging behind her. Her ribs burned, but she pushed closer. She saw the slice across his forearm, blood dripping slow. "You're hurt," she whispered. "It's nothing." Still, she tore a strip from the quilt's edge, wet it in the basin, and bound his arm. Her hand shook, but the knot held tight. Cole let her. For the first time, he didn't pull away. The silence between them changed. No longer fear, but weight. Shared, not carried alone. Anna lowered her hand, eyes shining in the firelight. "You could have left me. On that floor. Tonight. Any time." Cole stared at the flames, jaw hard. Didn't feel right. For a long moment, neither spoke. The fire popped, the wind pressed at the walls. Then Anna breathed deep, steadying herself. "Then maybe we're both still worth something." Cole's eyes flicked to hers, and though no words followed, the silence felt like agreement. Quiet work the days that followed moved slower, measured not by fear, but by the rhythm of small tasks. Cole split wood outside, the thud of his axe carrying across the frozen air. Anna sat inside with needle and thread, clumsy stitches pulling the quilt back together. Each pass of the needle steadied her hands, pulling her further from the jailhouse floor. They shared meals at the small table, beans, coffee, stale bread softened in broth. Words were few, rationed like bullets. Yet the silence no longer pressed. It filled like mortar between broken stones. Once, when Anna dropped a spoon, the clang startled her. She flinched. Cole picked it up without a word, set it back in her hand. His touch lingered, brief but steady. Another night, as the wind clawed the shutters, she hummed a hymn she half remembered from childhood. Her voice cracked, soft but true. Cole sat by the fire, sharpening his knife, his hand slowing though he never looked at her. There was no promise spoken, no future laid out. Only wood, thread, fire, and silence. But slowly, the cabin stopped feeling like a hiding place. It began to feel like theirs. The warning the rider came at dusk, a lone shape against the snow. Cole watched from the porch, rifle in hand, until the man raised one arm in peace. "Harlan," he called. From Bitter Creek. His breath smoked in the cold. "Mallory's stirring hell. Says Archer stole his prisoner. Put prices on both your heads." Anna's fingers tightened around the quilt she was mending. The words cut sharper than any bullet. Cole didn't answer, eyes flat as stone. Harlan shifted in his saddle. "He's calling men in from Cheyenne. Not just deputies, killers. You can't stay." His gaze flicked toward Anna, then back to Cole. "If you mean to keep her alive, move before the snow buries your trail." The hoofbeats faded, leaving the valley hollow and still. Inside, Anna whispered, "He won't stop, will he?" Cole shut the door, leaning his weight against it. "No, men like him don't." Fear knotted in her chest, but when he stepped close and laid a hand over hers where it gripped the wood, warmth pushed back against it. "We'll move," he said. His voice carried no softness, only certainty. "But we won't run." Anna closed her eyes, drawing strength from his steadiness. For the first time since Bitter Creek, she let herself believe she might outlast the winter. Trails in the snow they left before dawn. Smoke no longer rose from the chimney. The cabin left behind like a ghost. Cole saddled the roan with practiced speed, cinching the straps tight. Anna moved slower, clutching a small bundle, bread, bandages, the torn shirt he'd once pressed to her wound. Her ribs still burned, but she didn't complain. Snow crunched under the horse's hooves, each step cutting a trail across the white emptiness. Bitter Creek lay hidden in the mist behind them, but its shadow followed close. By midday, the land stretched wide and merciless, frozen rivers like mirrors, pines bent under ice, hills crouched low against the wind. Anna clung to the saddle horn, every jolt a stab of pain, but Cole's hand brushed her arm when she faltered. Steady, silent. That night they camped in the lee of a boulder. Cole gave her his coat without a word and spread his own bedroll in the snow. She wanted to protest, but the look in his eyes ended it. They ate dry bread by the fire. Anna watched him in the flicker, knife in his hand, shadows carving his face hard as the stone they leaned against. Yet when she whispered, "If we keep running, will we ever stop?" his gaze met hers across the flames. "We stop," he said, "when there's a place worth stopping for." The fire cracked, snow hissed, and above them the stars burned sharp and cold. Two shadows, alone but not apart. Blood on the snow, the ambush came at dawn. Cole was scattering the last of the embers when the sound broke. Branches snapping, spurs jingling, voices too harsh for hunters. 3 riders slid from the trees, rifles glinting in the pale light. "Archer," one bellowed. "Sheriff says the girl comes back. Dead or breathing, don't matter which." Anna jolted awake, clutching the quilt to her chest. Her eyes widened at the figures closing in. Cole's voice was iron flat. "Stay down." The first shot tore through the morning. Snow spat red where the bullet struck. Cole dropped to one knee, fired clean. A rider screamed, toppled into the drift. The others charged. Gunfire cracked, bullets whining past the boulder where Anna crouched. Cole's rifle roared. Another man fell. The last wheeled, pistol flashing, lead sparking against stone. Cole shifted, steady as bedrock, and his final shot split the air. Horse and rider crashed into the snow, still. Silence followed, broken only by the hiss of Anna's breath and the moan of wind through the trees. Cole stepped forward, rifle still warm, shadow long across the bloodstained snow. Anna's voice shook. "They'll never stop." He turned back to her, eyes dark but steady. "Then neither will I." And for the first time, she believed him. A question of worth, they found shelter that night in the ruins of an old trapper's shack. Walls leaning, roof sagging, but enough to hold a fire. Cole stacked wood in the hearth, sparks leaping. Anna sat close, quilt pulled tight, staring into the flames. The silence pressed heavy, thicker than smoke. Finally, she whispered, "How many more will die because of me?" Cole's hand stilled. He didn't look at her right away. "They died because they followed Mallory. That's on him, not you." Tears burned her eyes. "I'm no one, Cole. A girl the sheriff marked. You could leave me, and no one would blame you." He sat down hard on the stool, gaze fixed on the fire. His jaw clenched, voice low. Already left someone once. Thought it'd ease the weight. It don't. Anna's chest tightened. She didn't ask who. She didn't need to. His silence carried the ghost of it. Slowly, she reached across the space, her fingers trembling as they settled on his hand. For a heartbeat, she thought he'd pull away, but he didn't. Then maybe, she said softly, we carry it together. Cole's eyes lifted to hers, firelight flickering in their depths. He said nothing, but he didn't let go. And in that silence, Anna felt, for the first time, like she was more than a burden. The sheriff's shadow by the time they crossed into the canyonlands. The whispers had hardened into truth. Mallory wasn't sending men anymore. He was coming himself. The wind keened through stone hollows that night, the fire painting jagged shadows on the shack's walls. Anna sat wrapped in the quilt, eyes on Cole as he checked his rifle, motions precise, unhurried. Her voice was low, almost lost to the wind. What kind of man hunts like this? Cole didn't glance up. Not a man. She swallowed hard, the words scraping her throat. He won't stop till I'm dead. Cole set the rifle down, finally meeting her gaze. Then we stop him first. Anna's heart twisted. Fear pulled her one way, his steadiness the other. She tugged the quilt from her shoulders and draped it across his. The stitches she'd sewn by firelight stood crooked against his broad frame. It isn't much, she murmured, but it's what I can give. For a long breath, Cole stared at the rough fabric. Then the corner of his mouth bent. Not quite a smile, but something close. He pulled the quilt tighter. Outside, faint hoofbeats echoed along the canyon rim. The sheriff was near. The man who wouldn't stop mourning broke hard and cold. Frost rimmed the canyon floor, the air sharp enough to bite. Cole already knew before he heard it. Hoofbeats, too many to count, echoing off stone. Anna stiffened when the first riders appeared on the ridge. Mallory rode at their head, a dark figure against the pale sky, his long coat snapping in the wind. He reined up, voice booming down. Archer, you hand her over, and maybe I'll let you crawl out of here with your skin. Cole stepped forward, rifle loose in his grip, every line of his body carved steady. She ain't yours. Mallory's grin was a knife. She's mine till the dirt takes her. Don't make me cut you down with her. Anna's pulse thudded in her throat. She wanted to beg Cole to leave, to run, but the words stuck. He stood like stone, the quilt she'd given him draped across his shoulders, rifle leveled. The canyon went still, the kind of silence that comes right before thunder. Then Mallory raised his hand. Gunfire shattered the dawn. The canyon filled with smoke and echoes, bullets sparking off stone, horses screaming as they plunged down the slope. Cole fired once, twice, each shot clean, each echo a defiance. Men fell into the frost. Anna pressed herself against the wall of rock, heart hammering, every breath raw with powder and fear. Mallory's voice cut through the chaos. You can't win, Archer. But Cole didn't answer. He just kept firing. Dust and blood, the canyon rang with gunfire. Men fell, their shouts echoing off stone before silence swallowed them whole. Cole moved like he'd done it 100 times, rifle steady, every shot measured. But there were too many, and Mallory's voice cut through the smoke like a whip. Archer, you're dying on her behalf, and she ain't worth the dirt under your boots. Cole's jaw clenched. He fired again, one more body collapsing into the frost. Then the click. Empty. No time to reload. Mallory saw it. He spurred his horse down the slope, revolver flashing. Cole ducked behind a boulder, dragged his colt free, and the two men closed distance. Gunfire snapping, stone chips stinging the air. Anna crouched low against the rock wall, the quilt clutched in her fists. Her chest heaved, eyes wide. She wanted to scream, to run, but Cole's words echoed in her. They touch you, they die. Mallory's bullet grazed Cole's shoulder, spinning him back. Cole gritted his teeth, staggered, then rose again. Always knew you'd end up in the dirt, Mallory sneered, leveling his pistol for the final shot. Anna's breath broke. Without thinking, she seized the fallen rifle at her feet. It was heavy, awkward in her hands, but she braced it against the rock, finger trembling on the trigger. The crack split the air. Mallory's eyes widened. his revolver slipping from his grasp. He stumbled, then crashed into the frost, blood spreading across the snow. Silence fell. Smoke drifted. The canyon held its breath. Cole turned, chest heaving, and saw Anna standing there, rifle still smoking in her hands. For the first time since the jailhouse floor, she didn't look like someone waiting to be saved. The weight of silence, the canyon lay still, bodies strewn across the frost. Mallory's horse stamped once, then bolted, its echo fading into the cliffs. Anna stood frozen, the rifle slipping from her hands. Her chest heaved, vision blurred. She had pulled the trigger. She had ended him. Her knees buckled. Cole caught her before she hit the ground, steadying her against his chest. She shook her head, voice breaking. I killed him. I'm no better than he was. Cole's hand cupped the back of her head, rough but gentle. No, his voice was low, firm, as if saying it could make it true. You lived. That's all. Tears streaked her cheeks. Then what am I now? He didn't answer in words. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out the battered locket he hadn't opened in years. He stared at it a long moment, thumb brushing the silver. Then, without hesitation, he pressed it into her palm and closed her fingers around it. Anna looked up at him, startled. Cole, it don't belong to ghosts anymore, he said. The locket was cold, heavy in her hand, but it felt like more than metal. It felt like a vow, the quiet kind made not with promises, but with the weight of something given up. Anna leaned into him, trembling but steadier than before. And for the first time, the silence between them didn't feel like emptiness. It felt like the beginning of something that might last. The long winter and spring came slow to the canyonlands. Snow melted into muddy streams. Grass pushed through the thaw, and the wind carried the scent of pine instead of powder. Cole and Anna buried Mallory and his men beneath the ridge, playing graves marked only by stone. No word spoken, just silence, heavy and final. When it was done, they turned their backs on Bitter Creek and everything it had tried to take from them. Weeks stretched into months. The cabin they found was farther west, small but strong, with fields that caught sunlight instead of bullets. Cole worked the land with the same steady rhythm he once gave his rifle. Anna tended the fire, stitched new quilts, hummed hymns when the nights ran long. There were no declarations, no sudden promises. Only bread shared at a table, wounds tended without question, laughter breaking through silence now and again. Love grew not in fire, but in the quiet ashes left after. One evening, as the sun sank behind the hills, Cole set a small ring, rough silver, hammered simple, on the table between them. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Anna's hand closed over it, eyes bright in the firelight. She nodded once, tears slipping free, and in that gesture they bound their lives together more surely than any preacher's words. Years later, when the valley filled with the voices of children chasing one another through fields of wildflowers, the town folk whispered of the bounty hunter who'd once carried a dying woman out of Bitter Creek. They said he saved her. Others swore she saved him. Both were true, and in the end, under the wide western sky, their story lingered, not in gunfire or blood, but in the quiet weight of love that endured. If you want more tales of love, loss, and redemption on the wild frontier, don't forget to subscribe and ride with us for the next story.